Morning, Miss Thomas. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So we're just gonna ask some questions today about the Moms of Mule Time Media and the parent media organization. And so first off, what inspired you to become exactly involved in the Mule Time Media, and what keeps you committed to it over time?
Well, I'd say what initially got me involved was Mr. Boylan's enthusiasm and his excitement for the program. I think as parents, we know that outside of the academics of school is real life, and there's a lot of great jobs and careers and interests that we want our kids to know are available and be interested in. And so to have a teacher like Mr. Boylan who's so passionate about teaching his students about journalism and integrity was something that I felt drawn to. And the idea that, he's treating his classroom like a newsroom, I think is a really practical way to approach his class.
Was there a moment to you that when you knew that you wanted to stay involved?
The moment was the parent teacher meeting. I immediately fed off of his energy. I loved that he said very openly that he uses AI in his classrooms and encourages his students to use it. I think that is transformative, and I appreciate that kind of a forward thinking approach to the classroom. So, right out of the gates at the parent teacher meeting, I identified him as a teacher that I wanted to support and as a program within the school that I see a lot of value in, and approached him afterward and asked, what can I do to help?
That's great. And in the Mealtime Media, at first, what specific person, experience, or moment did first spark your desire to become involved?
Well, I think that as parents, we know that the school is challenged with funding. We know that extracurricular classes like art and media are supplements to history and math, those foundational ones. And so I know that through, different parent programs, that these kind of extracurriculars need our support more than your typical, say, English or math departments, which are really backed by the school a lot. So I knew that this was a place in an area that I felt passionate about, and I wanted to give in a way that I could with both my time and ask the teacher how I could support him outside of that as well.
Hmm, that's interesting, actually. How did it change the way you viewed the school communication or the involvement?
Um, so my oldest is in seventh grade now, which is the first year that you could be in Mule Time Media. So this is my first year, but I have two more kids right behind him that I hope to go through this program. And so I saw this as a place for me personally, where in the next 3 years, all of my children will have the opportunity to come through this program and learn and be a part of something that's, bigger than themselves. I think communications out in the workplace, um, it's a huge field. And so I want them to get an understanding of what this concept is in the workplace as something that they could be interested in. So for me, it was, selfishly, I guess, something that I knew all of my kids would have an opportunity to be involved in the next couple of years. And so it's a place where I wanted to then be involved in as a way to support them too.
Hmm. Now moving on to personal connection and motivation. What specific experiences, values, or concerns in your life influenced your choice to be involved?
Um, well, when I came and spoke to your class, I mentioned that when I was 24, I had bought a business. I spent 15 years growing that business. I grew it to other markets. I hired more people. I had a team. And that company and that business was in the space of communications, right? It's in this space of we utilize social media, we utilize podcasting, we utilize websites and online platforms to drive and connect customers for business. And so for me, it's an area where I've spent 15 years of my career. I loved the field. I found incredible experience, great people. And so for me personally, it was a real life application to something that I did. I put my hands on that I have a very like connected, vested interest in. And so I wanted to take that experience and put it over here to help grow and nurture young minds and show them that this is more than just a fun class where you get to use computers and cameras, but it's actually skills that you can learn to go out in the real world and do real world impactful things that move the needle in a meaningful way.
Wow. And how did those experiences shape your journey to then help going into?
Well, I think as a business owner, a lot of what I learned along the way are things that I wasn't necessarily taught in school, but that I taught myself.
Mhm.
And I think that in journalism and communications, right, a lot of what you're doing right now is teaching yourself your curiosity to learn more, your desires to problem solve and find a solution or connect the dots here, whether it's about getting a story out or promoting something to your audience, right? You have an end goal in mind.
Mhm.
And what you have to do is problem solve and use the resources you have to meet that goal. And so I think that, you know, the idea of this class is feeding your mind in a way that isn't just this is right, this is wrong, this is how you do it, but it allows you to think for yourself in a way that I think is really important for young minds, and also how you go to be successful outside of school into the workplace one day.
Mm. Did those values influence how you support or share school news?
I think so. I have definitely started to follow the different social media channels. I love the YouTube videos that y'all put up. Uh, your coverage of school news and what's going on in student lives and activities is something that I feel connected to the school and the student body at large. So I almost feel like Mule Time Media is a window into the students' lives, what's important to them, what's going on in school that parents otherwise aren't usually aware of, right? We get the Monday updates or we get emails from teachers about tests, but we don't really get to walk the halls and talk to you in this kind of a
Mm-hmm.
way. So I think Mealtime Media is a window into what school life is, what student life is. And as a parent, I think that's very interesting. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to follow y'all and look at your content and learn more. Because ultimately, what you're doing when you share that is you're teaching people, showing them something. So I enjoy following the pages as a result.
Thank you. And why did you choose to take on a leadership role within Mealtime Media as a parent?
I think in life, you, as a leader, you look for ways to help. And when you feel called to help, right, you follow that calling. And so, as parents, there's so many wonderful organizations, athletics, band, debate. I mean, the list goes on. Um, and so, for me, this was a calling, if you will, to lean in and help. One, because I have the life experience in this area that I felt like I could be of service. But also, it's just something that called to me in a way to say, as a parent, how can I support Alamo Heights Junior School? There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can do it sometimes with money, monetary, and sometimes you can do it with your time. And so I felt like this was a great opportunity to lend my time and help contribute to something that's growing
Yeah.
and that's impactful for students. I mean, how much do you love this class?
I love it. It's actually pretty fun and interesting how you get to, go outside, like you said, into the real world and, actually give everybody the news.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're capturing content, right? That lives on. And so these are things that you put out there for people to consume, right? To read, to watch, to listen, to learn. So essentially, you're teaching people, right?
Mhm.
Even if it is just teaching them about what went on at the basketball game or what student life is or the challenges of becoming a fifth grader going into sixth grade. I loved that segment.
Mhm.
I think it's an opportunity that you have to share and to teach, which is cool for the students to be able to do that.
Yeah. And your leadership, what has been the most challenging part of it?
Typically, I find that I want to do too much too soon. So in my mind, I can see, okay, we've got to do this, and then we'll get here. But it doesn't always happen as fast as you
Mhm.
see it happening. So I think sometimes you need to be patient, make sure that you do things right the first time, to make sure that it's set up in a way that can last and that can go from year to year and build on each other. So I think for me, it's more about having a realistic expectation of what is possible and achievable within a certain time frame and not try to go 100 miles an hour because that doesn't always work.
Yeah. And um, when do you most often come to help with Mealtime Media?
I look for, when I can. I love coming and talking to the students. I love and appreciate even just phone calls I have with Mr. Boylan. We'll hop on a call. Sometimes it's brief, it's only 5 or 10 minutes. But I think as a parent, I appreciate that your teacher is wanting and asking for parents to be involved in this classroom process, in this newsroom that he's building. And so anytime he reaches out, I feel honored to be able to just jump on a call. And sometimes we're just bouncing ideas off of each other or asking questions. And then he takes that 5 minute conversation and runs with it and goes and has meetings with Dr. Guthrie or comes back to the classroom and changes things. So, honestly, anytime that he asks for um, a phone call, it's great for us to jump on. So anything from a phone call to coming in the class, I'm on board for.
Are there certain events or projects that you like to jump on?
Any,
Any?
I think so. The older your kids get in school, the less the teachers ask the parents for help, right? Think about
Yeah.
elementary school. You
Yeah.
have homeroom teachers, you have class parties, you have Valentine's parties, right? And so that's
Mhm.
usually at the elementary school level. So as you start to get into middle school and high school, there's typically less involvement from the parents at the
Mhm.
classroom level. So I feel like as a parent that wants to be involved, this is a great opportunity for me to be able to do that.
And how do you balance this involvement with your other responsibilities?
Google Calendars. Anytime somebody asks, right? This is technology too, right?
Yeah.
Can we have a call? When can you meet? It's very easy for me just to open up my phone and look and see when I have work appointments or when I have personal appointments or when I'm available. So it becomes easy to schedule out when you're organized that way.
And can you walk me through a typical day when you're helping?
Sure. Typically, I've come in the mornings and spoken with the first period class. I think this is kind of the eighth grade, right? This is
Yeah.
the editors,
Yes.
right? The newsroom leaders, if you will, are in first period. So I've come in the first period classes. Another thing that I did though was I hooked Mr. Boylan up with somebody that I knew through work, Deborah Knapp, who was a news anchor for KINS 5 for 25 years. And I said, Deborah, my son, he's in a journalism class, it's seventh grade. Teacher's fantastic. He's trying to teach these kids real world applications to journalism and reporting and newsroom. Do you think maybe they could come and take a field trip? She said, no problem, right? Let me hook you up with the right person in the newsroom to make that happen. And it did. Did you get to go on that field trip?
No, I did not.
But did you hear of the field trip?
Yes.
So that's another way I think that parents can also help. It doesn't always have to be with your time specifically, but maybe it's with somebody that you know in print media. Maybe it's someone you know that works at a radio station or somebody who owns an ad agency that does online advertising for customers or creates content for people. So I think that as parents, that's another way that we can support this program. And one way that I did specifically was in just using my resources and my relationships to connect to people and then let them go off and do something. And so I think that that's a great example of another way that parents can help this program.
Yeah. Y'all have been a really good help, actually.
Oh, good.
Um, and what is the primary mission or goal of the Moms of Mealtime Media organization?
I think our mission is to support this program to whatever limits it wants to go, to serve as many students that want to come through this program, to be able to provide your teacher with the resources that he needs to be able to achieve what goals he sets forth. I love that he's forthcoming with goals. We want to win this award for having the best website. We want to win this award for the yearbook, right? He sets those goals and he vocalizes it. All right, and now that the goal's out there, how can we as the moms, right, come in and help support whatever he needs to achieve those goals? So I think that the mission of this program is to support your teacher and to support the students to whatever levels they want to go to.
Mm. And why is that mission to you important, personally important?
The mission is important because public schools, right, are challenged oftentimes with funding. We know this, right?
Mm.
There's a certain dollar amount that the state gives to each school per student, and that doesn't always spread out, or it doesn't always allow for these kinds of programs, right? The first things that we need to cover are the basic academics, right? The math, the science, the reading, the social studies. But these other programs are so important to growth and nurturing of students, to teaching them life skills. How do you take what you learn in English and now translate it over to journalism? Well, you have to have grammar, right? And so all of those skills that you're learning translate over here. So I think that, you know, supporting the extracurricular activities, whether it's through athletics, through journalism, again, there's so many, through band, through debate, is I think what makes a student's life full circle. If you just had to come to school and learn the math and the reading and the English, you might not like it as much. And so I think that making sure that these programs are supported is important for the students as well.
Mm. And how does the organization work to accomplish that mission?
Well, this is called grassroots. Do you know what grassroots means?
Yeah.
It means you start from the ground up, right? So we've started with just having conversations as parents, right? I sent out text messages. Hi, who would be interested in supporting this program? I got yeses, right? I'm in. Tell me how I can help. Okay, now that I have a baseline of who can support, now let me get with your teacher and the other moms of Mule Time Media and say, okay, well, what does that support look like? How do you need us to support? And then from there, you start to kind of put a plan in place together. But it starts with just parents connecting. We share one thing in common no matter what, right? We have students that go here and we love and care for our students, our children, and the students here. So when you have that common thread woven among so many people, it's really easy to pull them in and say, all right, now how do we work together to achieve this common goal that we all have? And that's what we're trying to do.
That's good. And how do parents and the students work together to accomplish this?
Well, right now, I mean, we're still in the early phases, right? I mean, again, grassroots, we're just growing, right? We've had an idea, we're pouring a little bit of water on it, right? We're sowing it, we're feeding it with good soil. That is the ideas, that's the conversations. And out of this initial process, something big is going to grow. So we are still just at the early stages of figuring out how to help, when to help, what ways, and out of that, we know we'll grow something that's big and meaningful.
That's great. And how does Mealtime Media exactly support or enhance the parent involvement within the school community?
You know, it's a great question. I think parents are often wanting to be involved. Like I said, in elementary school, there's a lot of opportunities for parents to come into the classrooms and be a part of that classroom life, have a very close relationship with the teachers. It gets a little bit smaller in middle school. So I think this is a wonderful way in which parents can get involved and get to know the other students. Yes, of course, I know my kids and I know their immediate friend circle, but I love the opportunity to get to see the student body at large. And I think this is a great opportunity to be able to do that.
Mm. And how is this different from traditional parent involvement?
You know, I don't think it's different. I think it's very much the same. It is parents asking, how can we support a teacher? How can we support a program? Parents are very motivated because we all love our children. right? And we want the best for them, and we want to support the schools that are supporting them, right? We send y'all off for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and we want to make sure that that time that we're sending you off to Alamo Heights Junior School is the best place for them, that they're being cared for, nurtured, taught well, that they're being, you know, given boundaries and discipline and all the things that are important, right? And so I don't think that this is different from other parent organizations. I think it's just nice that it is very specific to a certain cause. And so for those that feel compelled or those that have experience in this area can get involved in a way that maybe they aren't in other classrooms.
Mm. And why do you believe parents are such an important part of a student-led media organization?
I think that as young journalists, the real world use of what you're learning, you don't quite know yet, right? Y'all haven't had business experience. You haven't had your first job yet, right? You're not old enough to really have your
No.
first job outside of chores that you may be given around the house, right? And so I think parents understand that what you're learning here has a place out in the real world, right? In a way to earn a living for yourself, grow a business, support yourself, um, provide for your family, right? All of those really important things that are adulting, right? You're learning those here in this class. I think parents understand that in a way that students don't yet because you just don't have the life experience. So that's where I think that it's an important opportunity and great for the parents. We see that, and now we want to support that so you're more prepared down the road.
And how does your role in the Moms of Mealtime Media reflect your larger vision for what parent involvement should look like?
I always believe that you lead by example. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's true, right? If you want to see change, be the change.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see a school that's nurturing student extracurricular activities and is supporting of the arts, then you need to go out and roll your sleeves up and ask the questions, how can I help? I find that anytime you ask, how can I help, there's almost always an answer. It's just about doing it. So I think that, for me, that is where I find this to be very rewarding, is in being given the opportunity to lean in. Your teacher doesn't close the classroom doors and say, no, 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 I got this, right? He opens those doors for us as parents to come and have opinions and share them and give advice and make connections. And when that door's open, I think it's up to us as parents to step in.
And as Mealtime Media continues to grow, what role do you envision parents playing in its future?
I think a parent's role in Mule Media is just to continue to support your teacher, asking him, what does he need help with? How can we support you? He's got a great vision for this program, right? He's the leader in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us to support him, right? And to believe in him, in which I fully do. And the vision that he has for the growth of this program through the junior school. So I think for parents, it's just about asking the questions, how can I help? And then being willing to get to know the teacher and trust in his leadership of the classroom, which I wholeheartedly do.
Are there new opportunities you'd like to see for parents?
Again, we're really in the early stages of this. A lot of the other, parent supported organizations, whether it's through athletics or through bands, those have been around for a long time. So people are a lot more familiar with those parent supported organizations and how they help. This is new.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I like about new things, though, is that there's always opportunity, right? You can craft it and shape it into what you want. So, I think within the next 6 months and definitely into next school year, you'll see this program in the way that parents support it evolve in a way that really matches up with where your teacher wants to take the class.
What has become the most meaningful, impactful, or rewarding moment for you since becoming involved in Mealtime Media?
Well, that's a great question. What's been most impactful to me was hands down the opportunity to come into the classroom and talk to your class for a period, to share with you what I know and what I have learned in a very real way about media and how they connect and the ways in which you find opportunities and leverage. It's always about a goal, right? It's not just about putting something out there. There's always an end goal. It might be to raise awareness. It might be to sell something. It might be to incentivize for, a contest. My point is that my best opportunity was my favorite, I should say, was being able to come into the classroom, look into the eyes of students, and share with them what I have experienced in life. And your teacher opening the door for me is something that I think was it meant a lot.
And how did that make you feel whenever you come inside?
I love that. It makes me feel valued, and I know that Mr. Boylan values all the parents and feels very grateful for any amount of support that he gets. He gets tons of support from the PTO. He's been so forthcoming about how meaningful that is to him, right? And so I think in the job that you're doing, when you want to do it well, and when he wakes up and asks himself, okay, how can I move this needle? How can I help my students meet their goals? When he has that kind of a motivation, it is very easy for parents to want to say, let us continue to support you in whatever you need to continue to feed that into our students. So he's just taking those thoughts and ideas and that positivity and that energy and bringing it into the classroom. And I think as parents, it's up to us to continue to feed him what he needs to keep that level of enthusiasm and energy going.
That's I like your enthusiasm in this classroom, Miss Thomas, and I appreciate you for taking your time for this interview. And you're done.
Well, thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you. We appreciate your work.
Awesome.